Conjuring is a brand new film from James Wan, the man who brought us Saw, a great standalone film with a number of sequels which weren't so great, and Insidious, which was two-thirds of a really good film with one-third which was kind of weird and pretty terrible. But this, The Conjuring, is without a doubt his most leanest, tightest, concise horror film to date. Yes, it is chock full of tropes and cliches. Yes, you have pretty much seen everything that he does in this film before in other films. Yes, it's not very original, but for a film that is based around haunted houses and possessions, of which there has been God knows how many pouring out over the last few years, this one manages to actually have quite the effect on its audience. It's actually, despite being somewhat cliched and repeated and formulaic, it is actually pretty good for the most part. The film is based on real life occurrences. I say real life occurrences with, an open mind. Based on the encounters of Ed and Lorraine Warren, a real-life paranormal investigating couple who are brought to an isolated farmhouse because, let's face it, it's always an isolated farmhouse. It's never an inner-city flat, it's never a bedsit, it's never a new build or a housing estate. It's always an isolated farmhouse. Why these people will never learn, I don't know. Anyway, this farmhouse is occupied by the Perron family, and it is also occupied by some sort of demonic presence. So here we go with the Warrens. They go in to investigate, and they find a whole manner of creepy and strange things happening. Of course, it then follows the usual rhythms, the usual beats, but as I said, it does it in a really kind of interesting and at times incredibly tense way. It's not overly scary, and as I've said, you've seen everything in this film before, but there is a lot to like about it. James Wan obviously knows his stuff by now, and he has finally kind of ironed out some of the kinks that he had in Insidious, which I said was two-thirds of a great film, and it was just let down by a really weird sort of final third act. But he makes this a much more tight and concise experience. He hits all the beats, all the right rhythms at the right times, and there's a lot more subtlety to it. The style of the film kind of matches the 1970s backdrop, the colouring of it, the framing of it, the camera work, a lot of the props, the set design. It kind of generally feels more like an authentic set period piece, and it works definitely in its favour for that. But one of the big factors that makes this a much more enjoyable film than your average run-of-the-mill, ooh, I'm haunted, ooh, there's a demonic presence, ooh, isn't this spooky kind of film, is the actors involved with the project, because there is a real good crop of actors and good performances from The Conjuring. You have Ron Livingston and Lily Taylor, who play both Carolyn and Roger Perron, the head holder, the Perron family. You have a bunch of child actors who are not whiny and not horrible and not distracting, who are actually perfectly decent and fit within the film really well. And you have Patrick Wilson, who plays Ed Warren, who has a tendency to be a little bit stiff and a little bit bland in a lot of performances, but actually does a really good job in this. But I have to give full credit and full props to Vera Farmiga, who is an excellent actress already, but she is definitely the one piece of this puzzle that really kind of pulls it above level and makes it really enjoyable for the most part. Her performance is really great, and it's just, she's got a real sort of magnetic presence to the film, and she definitely helps deliver it much more than I think somebody else might have done. The film does still have problems. It still has pacing issues. It feels a little bit slow at some points, particularly in the first half, and the idea that they're trying to get the story of two households, both the Perrons and the Warrens, into one film kind of feels a little bit forced, and at times it slows the whole process down. But for the most part, despite ticking all the cliched boxes and doing all the things you've seen before and giving you the same old frights, it does work, and it is entertaining, and at times it is really tense. It does let itself down a little bit by kind of doing all of these things and by some of its pacing issues, but for the most part it's generally quite enjoyable, and for that I'm going to give it a 6.5. Is that too high? Too low? Let me know in the comments below. I didn't actually mean to rhyme that, believe it or not, but it just kind of happened. Anyway, I want to know your thoughts on The Conjuring, and I want to know what you think I should review next and in the near future. Also, if you didn't see the PSA, we are now live at a legit website, www.cinemaloco.com. Thank you for watching once again, and of course, feel free to say hi and talk about movies and stuff. And yeah.